What's up, Basketball Brain fans and members? Today, got another question. It was, how did Kobe model Michael Jordan? What does that mean? What does modeling mean? What does it entail? Now, in the full program, we go into this in much more depth and more detail, but I'll give you a little bit of a sneak peek here. How do you take a genius and find out what they do? Because if you can do this, if you can figure out how to break somebody down and then rebuild yourself in their image, they say the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. The shortest distance between where you're at and where you want to be is modeling. It's to model a genius. And it's so much fun to do. It's kind of like you're an investigator and you're going to go in and you're going to find out what's going on with this person that you admire. And you're going to figure it out, and you're like a detective and you find all these clues, and then you take these clues and you start to recreate what they did. It's kind of like a company. If you're a tech company and the other company comes out with a new phone or a new product, what you do, the first thing you do is you go buy that product and you rip it apart and you see what they do with their camera, what's their new software, what's their new hardware, what's their battery doing. You want to know everything your competition's doing, and then you can improve upon it. So you want to copy what they're doing great, and you can improve upon what they're doing, like get hints and get a little better. Like Kobe certainly got better in certain areas, I think, than Jordan. His dribbling was better. He's a slightly better three-point shooter. I think just like his jump shots in general, like the difficulty level, he could make them a little bit more frequently. But Jordan took smarter shots than Kobe, so I don't want to go that far. But my point is, like, you develop your own originality from modeling too. Even though at first you're almost going to be a carbon copy, over time you're going to start to develop your own originality. But there's three things you really got to do when you model. There's three things you're looking for. Number one, the easiest is to start to study their body language. Start to look how their face moves. You can even get into like the tempo of how they talk, all of that. Kobe like mimicked Jordan's voice to a certain extent. People say, oh, that's ridiculous. He shouldn't do that. He should be himself. Well, you know what? Kobe didn't have the great physicality Jordan had. He didn't have those huge hands. He didn't have the wide shoulders. He couldn't jump as high. So I think it was very smart of him, in order to maximize his potential, to just copy Jordan to such an extent, to that extent, and he really went for it. But you want to copy their body language, and you're looking for subtle hints about confidence, the way their eyebrows move, their eyes when they're focused, their chin, where their chin's at, where their shoulders at. You're looking to recreate the confidence they have in your own body by mimicking their body. So that's number one, is you want to study their body language. And if there's somebody around you that you want to study, that's even better, because if you're in the physical presence of somebody, you actually pick up on the nuances that you don't see always on video. You don't see the little things. Video, there's something lost in translation on video. But most of us, myself included, didn't have somebody around us to model. So you need to make sure that you don't let what you can't do interfere with what you can do. So get on YouTube, start studying videos, and watch it very, very, very closely. The second thing you need to do, and this takes a little bit more work, is you need to find out what they think, their belief systems. You need to know what they think about winning, what they think about losing, how do they see themselves, what's their level of confidence. And below that, you want to know how they feel emotionally. And that's so important. A lot of people who teach modeling, and I think this is my sort of unique contribution, is I'm heavily focused on emotion. The emotion at not just the conscious level, but the subconscious level. What's that baseline emotion they're feeling? And we want to start to recreate that as well, to really get into their psyche and their emotional being and start to recreate that in yourself. So you want to get into their beliefs, you want to get into their emotions, and then you want to carry that into your practice sessions, in your pickup games, and then, of course, into a real game. Lastly, you need to study their recipes for working out, for shooting, for dribbling. What do they do? How do they study analytics? So you really want to get into their routines and their rituals. You want to find out how often they work out, what muscle groups they work out on certain days. I mean, you want to copy them down to the finest detail. I want to make a little caveat here. You also need to make sure, as you're modeling, you structure what they're doing so it fits the type of game you play. So maybe you like Kobe Bryant and his work ethic, but you're not a shooting guard. So you need to do your point guard or your post player. So you want to have the same amount of work, but maybe the drills you're doing are slightly different. Kobe, if he was asked to switch to point, his entire routine would change. He'd put a lot more emphasis on ball handling rather than shooting. I mean, he'd still get his shots up. He's Kobe Bryant, for God's sakes. But, he would add a lot more ball handling. So it depends on your position. If you're modeling somebody that isn't in your position, that's fine. You can definitely do that. Make sure that you tailor your training to you, to the skills you will need. So you're modeling, but you want to, tailor it to what you need. So in a nutshell, that's what you need to do. There's more, you can even go more in depth with their leadership style, how they communicate, and you get finer and finer details. And eventually, once you have that, you'll start to see areas where your own unique skill set can manifest in different ways, and you start to play with a lot of originality. You start to play in ways that are uniquely yours and have your own stamp on it. So Jordan modeled in a lot of ways Dr. J and some other players, and of course, he recreated. By the time he was done, he has so many signature moves and signature plays that Jordan created his own style and his own thing. And like we were talking about before, Curry kind of did that. Kyrie does that in a lot of ways. So they always have these fundamentals that are really interesting to watch them develop. And they sort of remind you of other players, and all of a sudden they burst out and become their own thing, and that's cool to watch. In fact, just so you know, I'm outside recording again, so you might hear the wind a little bit, but I'm modeling here. One of the people that I listen to and I follow does all of his audios outside rather than sitting in a studio. And I noticed when I was listening to his audios, the wind in the background, the birds in the background didn't really bother me too much. So I was like, well, I should do the same thing. I'm modeling people better than me constantly. I'm always looking for someone who's more advanced, superior to me. Aristotle said, great men study superior men. And that's what you have to do. To be great, you have to study superior people, find out what they do, and try to recreate it. This is BasketballBrain.com. We're dedicated to your greatness.